And we are live back with the Talking with Francesco series. Today we have Leah Thompson, and we'll talk about PHP, conferences, live streaming, DevRel, like so many things to talk about. I think this is also our first interaction. So usually I like this. So we can know each other. And in the meanwhile, we can also share something. Hey, Richard, how are you? Say hi in the chat. Hi, Liam. How are you? And welcome.
Hello, and hi, Richard. It's weird we haven't like chatted at all because we've been in like the same Twitter spaces and stuff. I've like interacted online, but we've never had a call before.
Yes, but I mean, and I think the main reason is that because I saw that you spoke at a conference, so I always like to be connected with those people. So we'll talk about your experience. I think it was positive, but let's wait for that so you can give a full, hot review of your conference. I think it's still hot.
Yeah.
But before that, Leah, please introduce yourself because I want to know more about you. How did you get into coding, development, and then how you get your role? So we will chat for a while. And of course, if you're in the chat, feel free to drop all your questions. We'll try to answer them all.
Mhm. Sounds good. Should I go ahead and go into like the about me then?
Yes. I want to know, like, first of all, please introduce yourself, and then I also want to know more about like how you get into all this crazy tech world.
Yeah, so my name is Leah Thompson. I go by Leah T Codes online, but my last name is Thompson. My background's actually in education and mathematics. So I actually majored in mathematics in college. So I have a bachelor's of science in mathematics from the University of Florida, and I wanted to do like applied math. So I wanted to do like bioinformatics, statistics, something like that. But I graduated during COVID, so May of 2020. In Sorry, my desktop like went black, but we're back. But I graduated during COVID, so the jobs I was applying for had like hiring freezes. So due to that, I ended up going into education and working as a high school mathematics teacher for a year and a half, just because my husband was still in college. I needed like a job that would pay more money. So they were hiring for teachers. So I ended up going into that, and I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do permanently. So I quit teaching in December of 2020. No, 2021 is when I quit teaching. Leon Noel was starting 100 Devs Cohort 2 in January of 2022, which 100 Devs was a free online program to learn full stack web development, specifically the MERN stack. So MongoDB, Express, React, and Node. And he live streamed it on Twitch when the cohort was live. So he would do 2 classes on Twitch a week, and then post homework and stuff like that. So I started doing that. And in me doing 100 devs and starting the homework, he wanted us to like retweet the post about the classes. That was like our attendance. So I started getting back on Twitter. I had like 20 followers on Twitter. It was my personal Twitter. So I started like sharing the tweets on Twitter, and I started posting about the classes and posting about my homework. And he would like give us homework assignments and want us to change small things about it. So I would like make these like pretty basic HTML, CSS projects, but change stuff about it. And I just started posting about it, which is how I built up my Twitter to what it is. And during that process, people were asking me like, "Oh, how did you build this? Like, how did you make this? Can you help me?" So then I started streaming so I could teach them while also learning myself. So during that whole time of me learning how to code is when I also started posting on Twitter about it and streaming and everything. And I just kept up with it. I started learning the MERN stack and all in January 2022. I got my first job in tech in November of 2022 as a email developer. So still in marketing, but more like email. So doing HTML and CSS for marketing emails. I did that for a year and a half, quit last year and did worked at a small agency doing full stack development. And then that contract ended February of this year, which is why I was job hunting again. Did a lot of interviews earlier this year and ended up at Laravel. So very long story, but that's kind of my.
No, I was listening quietly, just to give some context. Also, my mom has a math degree. I was that close to get a math degree too, but then I switched back to the CS degree. So like that, I really like that. Congratulations with that. And yes, so let's say that it does not be conventional path. For example, when I decided, to become a developer, get into tech, I come from the sports world. So let's say that path to development can be unpredictable, I would say. But yes, so I'm happy. And maybe one question I have for you is like, why did you choose, I don't know, PHP, or is that be like, the first choice, first language, and how did you get, in the Laravel ecosystem?
Yeah, so it's actually funny. So JavaScript was, well, okay, in college, I did take two programming courses. So I did take one in C++ and C. So C++ is like my first ever language I like wrote anything in. But I always kind of see JavaScript as my first language because it's what I started with in 2022 and like the first language I actually went deep in, like creating projects with from scratch, doing all of that. Whereas like in college, I feel like I didn't really scratch the surface of the languages I learned. So I would say JavaScript's my first language. I didn't start learning PHP till last year, and I only started learning PHP through Laravel. I started learning them at the same time, and I started using them around June of last year. So still new to like PHP and Laravel. Um, but I started using it last year for my job at the agency I was talking about. So whenever I got hired, our stack there was um, a React and TypeScript front end, and then the back end was in Node.js and Next.js. But within like a month or 2 months of me being there, um, we rebuilt it in Laravel and PHP. So my manager was like, "Hey, we're gonna rebuild it because we're having issues with some third party things we were having issues with, and Laravel just makes a lot of that stuff easier." So he's like, "I'm going to rebuild it." So I started learning Laravel a little bit in like June-ish, like May, June. But then I won a free ticket to Laracon US last year, which was in August in Dallas, Texas. I won it through Laravel's, which is a like community-led program that helps support people who are underrepresented due to their gender who like use Laravel and PHP. So I got a free ticket to go. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to this conference. But I was really scared because I barely knew Laravel, and I'm like, they're going to know I'm a JavaScript developer and they're going to hate me. And it was also my first tech conference, my first ever tech conference. So I went to Laracon last year and the talks were amazing. Everyone was super nice and supportive. And they're like, "Oh, how can I help you? I'm so excited you're getting into Laravel." So that really made me want to keep building with it. The community is so nice and supportive. The talks were really great. Like there was talks, like one talk was flying a drone and like recording video from the drone by using like Laravel Reverb, which is their WebSocket server, and like all these really cool talks that just like inspire you to go build things. So after that, I was like, I'm fully in on Laravel. Like I really enjoyed using it. It was way easier to use than like the MERN stack that I was used to. The community was great. The talks inspired me. So I just like fully committed after that. And it was like after that I started. I made like my one YouTube video on Laravel. I had like a lot of Laravel streams. I was building more with Laravel. And during that, I also, when I was posting more about it after the conference, is whenever I connected with a lot of people in the Laravel team as well, and more of the community, which just slowly led into me working there.
Great, great, and this is the proof that like a language is not just the language, but is also the community, how you can get involved, like the ecosystem, the inspiration, and I think that the Laravel communities are one of the best. I think so far, at least at least for the pictures that I see from conferences. So I also, as I told you before, I made a video recently, maybe 1 year ago, using Laravel. Absolutely enjoyed it. I think that PHP, Laravel and Docker, they work very well together because PHP needs, a web server to run, also with Laravel. So to set it up, Laravel and Docker, even if I was not an expert in Laravel, it has been kind of easy to set it up like a whole service with a Docker Compose and all the services that you need. So I'm really happy, and for sure we will make some Laravel collaborations at some point. So for sure. Yes, I want to say here, Richard, we will all meet at Render ATL. So we'll make a selfie, you, me, and Leah. Okay, so that's a promise. That's a great auto talk. Yes. And I think I posted today about like how going to conference changed my life. I don't know if you read that. And very similar experience. Like you go to a conference. For me, it was even before, like I think making the first tweet. So I got really inspired by going to a conference, understanding that, I finally broke the stereotype that developers are just, those nerdy people just coding and they don't want to talk to everyone. I mean, it's a stereotype. For someone it's true, but if you want, you can also be connected with this, more active part of developers that I really like. And I think this is also related to the fact that you also started doing some more like developer relation things. Just the fact of being more active online and doing a YouTube video, it's more related to developer relations rather than just straight coding in that dark room. So. Yes. So I would like to know more about this, like your current role in that is also I think involves developer relations, and then I want to talk about slowly to your experience at the conference. This is the main reason why I want you to have you here, because it's a topic that I really like to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. So my current role is like internally, the title was like marketing web engineer. So it's like marketing web engineer, front end engineer / marketing, and then like DevRel as well. So my main role is to be a front end engineer, like on the marketing team. So I'm on the DevRel team, and I'm going to be doing marketing pages. I'm going to be doing I building like out landing pages for launches and stuff like that. So all of it that's like with the marketing side, as well as if like there's any tools or sites that the DevRel team wants to redo, I'd be doing those. And then my DevRel side of things, so far I've been busy on like landing pages and stuff. So like I haven't made like YouTube videos or anything like that, but it'd be more like making content, YouTube videos, talking at conferences. I already have like conferences lined up to talk at. I'm talking at 4 other conferences this year, I think. So stuff like that. And then of course, I'm sure we'll need to do more live streams and stuff. So excited to get back into that. But yeah, so it's like more right now, like an 80-20 split. I'm more front-end engineer, but am on the DevRel team. So we'll be making DevRel content, going to conferences, stuff like that.
And I think this is a very nice experience to have, because then you can either choose if you want to really, go on the dark side of DevRel, or if you want to go still do more engineering things. So I like also my first DevRel role was not like a pure DevRel role. I was thinking it was 50 coding and 50 creating videos. So this proves that at least, knowing how to do a live stream or YouTube video, it's helpful, because at least you have this specific, like a very long title: web dev, web marketing, front end DevRel. It seems like a Daenerys Targaryen like titles. But yes, it's nice, I think, to have and try things. It's nice to have someone in the team that can do this sort of stuff that not anybody can do. Hey Mohammed, how are you? Yes, okay, great. So this is, for how long have you been doing this role? I think some months. When did you start?
Like this specific role, I started last week. I started
last week.
I started Monday, like right before I gave my first conference talk. So it was
so you got into this job just to say that into this live stream, because you organized this last live stream. Because I think I remember that when we set up this live stream, you didn't have all these roles on your bio. Or maybe I was.
No, I think I added them right after.
So I double check and say, okay, so this is different. I can't remember that. I know that in tech things move fast, but not that fast, like in on the same day. Great. So and again, if you're here in the chat, say hi to Leah. Drop, for example, I want to know your experience at conferences. And I say that the conference really changed my life. That's not that's for real. And I would like to know like your first experience as a speaker. Now I want to really relax because I want to listen like your experience even before getting on stage, if it has been different than what you thought, and even right after. So I really want to listen to your first impressions as a speaker. Thank you.
So I guess like in general for conferences, I went to LaraCon last year and I went to Commit Your Code in December. And after Commit Your Code, people were asking like, "Oh, would you ever think of speaking?" And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to start applying because I was really scared to even apply to speak at first, because people always post about the rejections and stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm not going to get accepted. I don't even know like what to do about CFPs. So I started submitting them, thinking I was going to get rejected, and I submitted to like 5 or 6 conferences. And I got accepted to every one so far except Render, which Render I've heard is like really hard to get in as a speaker anyway. And so I was like, oh crap, now I actually have to give these talks. So with Epic Web, because it was the first one I ever spoke at, I was really nervous beforehand. So I was kind of like chill going up to it because it was a 5-minute lightning talk on streaming through Twitch. So it wasn't technical. So I was like, oh, this won't be that bad. And then I got there and I got really nervous, especially when I was like watching the other talks. I was like, oh crap, I need to like practice this. And I got like nervous about it. So I went into my hotel room with Richard and we practiced it for like 30 minutes straight. Like an hour before my talk, we practiced it. I did it like 6 times. And then I gave my talk, but whenever like I gave my talk and I went up on stage, it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. Like I was like nervous, but then I got on stage and I'm like, oh, this is like teaching. Like I'm just talking to people. Like it's fine. And it was a way better crowd than my audience whenever I was a high school teacher because the high school students do not want to learn geometry. So these people are more, more interested in enjoying it. So I was like, oh, this is good. I can do this. And I really enjoyed it. Like I got off stage and I was pumped up. And one of my like managers from Laravel was there. He like had driven there because he knew I was speaking at it, and so was Josh. And I went off stage and like I found them. I was like, oh, you know what? I actually like speaking. I was like, which is good because otherwise this year would be really awkward as me being like a DevRel and speaking at other conferences. But it was a lot of fun.
Yes, and I can say from experience that usually we are our worst critics. I think math people are even worse than that, so they're even more critical with themselves. So since you are not objective, Leah, I will take what Richard is saying more relevant because it has a more objective point of view. It has an external point of view. So yeah, you absolutely killed her first talk. I'm sure about that. And I think that yes, practicing is always a great way to do it. So if you are a bit stressed, I think that it's and if you think a talk is not that different from a theater monologue, so I mean, even if you do a small mistake, people are not gonna notice that you missed a word or a sentence because they don't know what's the plot or what is happening. I think that what is important is that you feel that a message has been received, so that you have the talk should have a goal. Make you get for example, the person who made the talk about the drone, his goal, their goal is probably to get you more involved and wanted to create something. Okay. What was the title of your talk? I don't know if you already said that.
Networking through streaming on Twitch.
Okay. And so this was based on your personal experience?
Yeah, so it was mainly just about how to start streaming on Twitch, how to network through it, and then the end was outcomes you can get from that, which I do think that streaming on Twitch, even though I hadn't spoken at conferences, helped me get accepted for conferences because it's proof of concept, showing you can speak to people, you can interact with them, you can talk about technical concepts, So I feel it lowers the risk some of accepting someone to speak.
Absolutely, I'm a strong believer in this. I think I made a talk about this, which was introverted developers on social media. So I was talking about the steps that you should do to get more and more involved. And the very last step was in my idea is to stay on stage because that's a live in-person event. One step before that, there is, I think, a live streaming event, which is a live online event. I don't know, in terms of difficulty or what you can achieve. But this is a list of, let's say, things that you can do. And I think, yes, I think it helped. And for example, even for me, I do like spaces and live streams. I think especially, I don't know if you had any questions from the audience at the end, but I don't know, maybe it was a short. Sometimes people just get shy. But for example, if you get some questions or if you get some feedback, like understanding like how to handle that, I think it's great. Let me show you. If you have questions or point of view, I also want to know, Richard, from you, like your experience at this conference. The author makes a mistake unless you, as a speaker, acknowledge you made a mistake. Exactly. So you just have to make a poker face and you just keep going, and people barely will notice that. And yes, absolutely. Okay, so now I would like to know at the end of your talk how you felt. What's your, if this, I don't know, changed your perspective on speaking, if you want to do more, if you want to do less, if you want to stop. So what has been your let's say what you got from this experience?
After speaking, I felt like really pumped up. I felt really good, and I was like, you know what, I don't know, I felt excited to speak at the next conferences. So I'm actually speaking in 2 weeks at React Miami. And I speak at a conference next month, which is React Miami. I don't have anything May. Then I'm speaking at a conference June, July, and September. So I was really like lucky I enjoyed it because I already have like a full speaker tour this year going on. But I was really pumped up and I was like looking forward to my other talks after the talk ended. And then of course thinking of things I could do better. Like my next talk is technical, so I want to like practice it more and kind of write out like a full speaker script beforehand that I kind of have to go off of that's like different from my slides, as well as like maybe make my slides less content, because a lot of speakers only had like a couple words on their slides, and like the slides were kind of sparse. So I think that's something I can do and not relying on my slides and stuff like that. But overall, whenever I ended speaking, I was like, oh, you know what? I like doing this. Like, I'm excited to do this again.
Great, yes. And this is, for example, why I always try to get on the first day of the conference as a speaker, so I can enjoy and get some swag on the second day, and maybe do some live streams, for example, from events. Sometimes I do that, and it's always great, even if you know just live stream you like going around with a phone. It's a bit crazy, but for example, I really love that. You were at a single track conference. I think I've never been to a single track conference. So I'm a bit jealous because usually it's always a bit a mess, I would say, when there is, for example, We Are Developers Conference. It's a big conference. I think they have like 10 talks are happening at the same time. So it's weird. Even Render, they have, I think, 6 happening at the same time. Sometimes, I think last year, they were, at the same time, they had, I don't know, like Angie Jones, Danny Thompson, and James Quick, like on the same time. So it has been a bit hard sometimes, even if especially if you have friends and you want to attend their talks, and you are a speaker in that slot, it might be a bit hard. I hope this is not going to happen this year at Render. It will happen for sure. And but yes, and so I would like to ask you, like, so you want to go on the technical part. For example, I think this is also what usually I like to do. I ended up doing more mix of these because also, let's say, having usually from an attendee perspective, probably I enjoy the inspirational a bit more because they're more universal. As a speaker, probably enjoy more doing the technical ones because I can then prove or I can share something about the technology I did. Are you planning to do any live coding session? Have you ever done a live coding, demo session or not?
I haven't. So I have to set up my talk for React Miami, which is going to be using React with Inertia.js. So it's technical. And I don't know. I mean, I know I'll probably show like code snippets. I don't know if I'm live coding anything. I also don't know if I'll have time. Like I have to go over everything I want to talk about because I'm mainly teaching about like what inertia is and then how it can speed up front end development with React. I do kind of want to give I want to do live coding eventually in a talk, I think, because it's really cool when people do it. But I think if I do it right away, I'll be too nervous. Because like even whenever I live stream and I'm coding on stream, I feel like my brain cells deplete whenever I'm on stream and people are watching me, and then I forget how to type, and then you're going like super slow. I don't want to do that in front of 500 people or more.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I can say so. If since I'm a bit crazy on my first talk ever, I did the live coding because I say I want this to go wrong. I have this also on my YouTube channel, and so something crazy happened at some point during me coding something for the first time on the first stage. All the lights went down, so the room went absolutely dark. And this is not sponsored, but I loved that I had a Mac, so I actually had lights on the keyboard, so I can actually see at least what I was typing. But that was, I think, the longest 30 seconds of my life, like with these lights off. The room was absolutely dark. I don't know. I don't know. And I think that the time goes like super quick. Like if you want to do like a simple hello things, like you end like doing like 10 or 15 minutes, they go up so quickly if you start live coding just for the time or do that. My secret is that when I mess up, I start laughing, which usually works. I think that so far all my live coding session, they went all well, as far as I remember. I don't know if I removed some trauma, but for as far as I remember, all of them went well. Again, I think that the goal is to give a message. So for me, again, probably as a speaker, I want to prove myself that I can live code. As an attendee, I don't care. Probably even living some code snippets are fine. I think there were some tools. I don't know if it was pieces. There are some tools that can help you like to show like a snippet at a time, and then you run the code, like adding that snippet, and then you run the code. I can't remember exactly which tool was that, but maybe this can help. And yes, do you have so do you also have an idea of the topics? Do you still involve PHP and or something else like for the future talks?
Topic. So I know 3 of them this year are using React with Inertia.js. So just like talking about Inertia.js, because it's a really cool, I think, package that Laravel now fully maintains, but was created by someone who also worked on the Tailwind CSS team. But it allows you to write a monolith basically and removes the need for a separate API layer. So it makes it really nice to use React on the front end and like Laravel on the back end. But there's also adapters for you to use it with Ruby on Rails. I think maybe Django as well. And then I think there's some other ones. But a lot of JavaScript developers, I feel like, don't know what inertia is. And I realized that when I commit your code last year, because I was telling people my stack, which is Rilt. So it's React.js, Inertia.js, Laravel, and Tailwind. And people didn't know what inertia was. So most of my talks this year are just introducing what inertia is to JavaScript developers and like explaining how it can make front-end development faster, because you're not having to do the separate like Axios calls. You're just removing the need for a separate API layer. You can just send your backend data to your front-end components as props to that component. And it just makes like forms and stuff like that easier. So most of my talks are talking about that. I kind of also want to get into doing like the personable talks, like about my story and stuff like that. 'Cause I feel like those, like you said, those are really fun to watch from like a attendee's perspective. You know, like when Aaron Francis does his talks, and he's like, the ones I've been to, his talks are more the personable ones. I think at like some Laravel conferences, he does more technical talks because he can do it all. But I really like watching the like build in public talks and stuff like that. The ones that are like inspirational, you know, like they really get you pumped up. So I want to give talks like that, but so far they've been more, I think so far my other talks this year are technical. There are some conferences that like aren't announced yet that I'm not sure what I'll be talking about. It's kind of like whatever they need, we'll figure it out and talk about. So to be determined about those, but for the most part, it's inertia.
Yes, and I think that we can be flexible in doing these talks. Usually, for example, like in my case, I went to the We Are Developers conference in Berlin. So 2 years ago, I went on the main stage, which was a great experience. Last year, I brought a very technical topic, which was like Docker, Rust, an AI tool, and so on. So they said, it's nice. it's too technical, so this can't go on the main stage. Let's do this on a smaller one. So this year I'm coming with a non-technical one, so I can go on the main stage again. So this is also depends on the topic. So I think it's nice to alternate them. I think they're just different. Probably with no, yes, I wanted to connect with something that you said before, that sometimes if we use a tool for a long period, we tend to be in a bubble when we think that everyone know the tool, because probably the people we talk to daily, they all use the same tool. I don't know, for Docker or Kubernetes. So you pretend that everyone you would love that everyone knows your framework and your beloved tool. If you start asking at a conference, like, how many of you, they know this tool, and then you have 10% people raising their hand or 2 people. So, and I think it's important in that case as a speaker to just ask, so you can also adapt a bit, because if you see that no one knows what you are talking about, probably you can make a quick introduction, or you can go a bit smoother. I think it also depends on the type of conference. Like if you're on a DevOps conference, probably you don't have to reintroduce Docker. If you are in a generic one, maybe you need to introduce a bit more. I don't know, for example, if you go to a LaraCon, you don't have to introduce Laravel.
No.
But if you go to if you go to a generic conference and you ask, like, how many people know Laravel, I don't know if everyone raise their hand. Probably 50% they will do. But yeah. So this is very important. I think I always like to have, and I don't know if it was also your case. In my case, usually when I prepare the talk is fine. When I end my talk, I'm super happy. But I always think like this talk was too basic. Like I'm saying like obvious things, and every single time someone says and says, Francesco, it was amazing. It was exactly what I was needed for, because as an expert in that topic. You say it's like teaching math. Like you say something that you think it's boring because it's a bit boring for you, but it's fine because you are teaching this to someone who is probably they do different things, or maybe they've been they are at their first conference, like it was for me. So I always have this feeling that I say basic stuff, but I think it kind of worked so far, and always have great feedback. And now I have one question. If you want, you can drop a question, which is, when is the next live stream on Twitch?
Wow, you set me up there. I don't know. I would like to do one this month. I know that's not really an answer. I feel like I'm so busy right now. I really would love, I don't know, maybe I'll feel spontaneous and do one this weekend. But my main goal is this month, because I feel like that's more achievable.
Great. Of course, I will try to be there, and I want to support that. So it was not just a friendly pressure. No, because I think that also like all these live streaming things, also what we're doing now, really changed also my life. I don't know if you know that also I got this DevRel role by doing this kind of interviews. Sorry, there is. Okay, so we have a subscriber. I don't know if it's going on your head, but I can go on this part. So in this case, we have another subscriber. They go on my face and not your face. So yes. So, and I think that doing this kind of live events can really help. And yes, when someone can build something and having like especially giving like feedback. I think a great plus, for example, of live coding, if you do that, is that you will spot like errors like in seconds instead of like hours. Like you missed that, or this can be done in a different way. So just the fact that you are live streaming doesn't mean that you are the best in the room, of course, in coding. Probably just a bit shameless. So that's it. Yes. What else? So we talked about conferences, PHP. So about social media, what social media are you using? Where can we find you? So
I use Twitter. Twitter is probably my main one that I use. I'm also on Blue Sky, and then Twitch, YouTube, but I mainly am on Twitter. I don't really use LinkedIn. So LinkedIn just got updated yesterday about my new job, which I guess is still kind of early, but Twitter was like updated right away. And I also did get I want to say all 3 jobs in tech through streaming on Twitch and posting on Twitter.
Which okay, so exactly. So if you would have said this to me like 5 years ago, I would say this person is a fraud. It's not true. I can't believe this person. I don't know why they are saying this because I didn't believe in social media. Now I'm here advocating that this probably changed my life. I also got, I don't know, probably higher salary paying, or I'm also enjoying more. So that's just a bit awkward at the beginning. And yes, and Mohammed, every time I do a talk, half of the crowd is bored, another half say it was too technical. This is the proof that you can't please everyone, but you can unplease everyone, as you are saying here in the chat. I still haven't attended one of your talks. I think we never met so far, but we can fix this at some point. Roxy, how are you? I can see you. Are you coming to render this here?
She is.
She's perfect.
She's an ambassador. Richard's an ambassador.
Okay, so we will make a big picture all together. Maybe sometimes I also do live events from the conference, so you're also officially invited in case I do one. I did one with Ellie and Jason, and so many people, and also I had some cameo for people here. Yes, Hello, co-worker is so cute. Hello, I see many people here. Hey, how are you, Mai? How are you? Perfect, nice, great. So Leah, so we talked about this conference experience, all your social media stuff. You're doing this thing. Is there anything like that you would like to learn in 2025 that you want to be, I don't know, to learn more? I don't know. Some AI. I think we didn't mention AI, and we have been here for 36 minutes. So I consider this like a personal record. Is there anything you want to learn and you want to focus on in 2025?
I feel like I wanted to focus on like Python and doing AI and stuff. Now that I work at Laravel, I might like pivot to just building up more of my Laravel skills in my free time. Since like I am doing front end work like as my job, which that I'm fine in. But working there, of course, I'd love to keep using Laravel and like building up my skills of that. I don't know. Of course, also like when people talk about like Rust or they talk about like Elixir and stuff, I want to learn everything. So who knows where I'll like bounce around this year, but I'm trying to kind of stay in my zone. I'm definitely going to be amping up my skills a lot on like CSS and like animations and like kind of really cool front end things. Like so that is like the main thing I'm focusing on too, because that ties directly into what I'm doing for work. But then outside of that, I might bebop around just for fun.
Yeah, great. But I think you can give yourself time since you have started, I think, 1 year ago or about around with PHP and Laravel. So I think that you can give yourself time. And I also think that that's great. Like when we want to focus on fewer things, that when you know what you want to focus on. I think Laravel has a great ecosystem. Probably not my first choice now because I'm more focused on Rust. But for example, I know that people on Twitter would like us to fight, but that's not how it works. I know that they want blood, but this is not what we will have here. Because I also like, for example, the ecosystem, and I like, for example, I'm fan of mature ecosystems, and I think Laravel is one of them. For example, I'm preparing a talk about Rust and web development, which is more on my sphere, but I'm sure that I will mention like existing mature frameworks like Laravel or Next.js. So they are great examples, I think. And so great thing. Let's see if we have some questions from the audience. The Rust, I do sometimes. Yes, Jason, yes. Jason, for member stream with you, we had Helly, we had Jason, we did a live stream from the hotel, from the hall in at Render. So I will bring my things back so we can do one, and of course you can come there, Leah. Yes, if you have, I'd like to ask you from the DevRel part, like what have you been doing? Like, have you been creating videos for the company? Is there anything? Did you like that part, or do you hate that part? Do you like that part?
So for DevRel, I've taught at a conference, and I have like other conferences lined up. So that's kind of what I've done so far. I know the team themselves focus a lot on YouTube content as well as like YouTube streams and stuff. So I'm sure I'll get like pulled into doing that as well. And then I also want to like still do streams on my own Twitch channel to tell people about Laravel, because even like last night when I went on like my friend streams, I like told them, oh, I work at Laravel now, and they're like, what is Laravel? So I was like, okay, I need to do more streams on here. I need to like tell more people about what Laravel is. But that's kind of like so far what I'm thinking of for DevRel. But also I'm sure it'll be like tutorials and courses and some stuff like that. So more like video based, I would say, video streams, kind of like courses, and then speaking at conferences are the main things that I think they would want for the DevRel. And like for like the YouTube videos and stuff, I have only made one. I did enjoy making it. I just was really stressed about putting it out there for some reason. It was kind of like you said with your talk, where like I put it out there and I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. Like people are gonna hate it. And then people are like, oh, this was great. Like your YouTube video is great. Like I even got reached out to by a different company for a DevRel position, because they're like, oh, we saw your YouTube video and it's like on par with what we're looking for. And it's like, I can just make a video and then be considered for DevRel. Like what is this? So yeah.
Yes, it's also for me, like when I do, I don't know, hello world, Docker, great, amazing, like that's exactly what I needed. I don't know, so, because this is how it works. Like probably if you do some some videos about advanced calculus, probably have less views. And so
like if you do, views, that's it.
Yeah, if you do like basic math operations, you will have people say amazing. That's great. Like exactly what, because this is probably the audience that is usually on YouTube, and this is fine. This is how it has to be. But I also have this syndrome of doing like stupid stuff. So now I feel less stupid when I put things out. Mm-hmm. Jason wants to know more about your hiring process at Laravel, how it worked, if you enjoyed it. I don't know how much you can share, but maybe you can share from your point of view, if you enjoyed it, how it has it been smooth, maybe even if you can go, what they asked. Maybe Jason wants to join you, I don't know.
I'd say it went smooth. I also don't know, like, I don't know. It was, so basically I applied and then had 4 interviews within 2 days, but I think my circumstance was a little different too, because I had another job offer. So they were trying to move fast due to that. But basically had 4 interviews, 1 on the DevRel side, 1 on the marketing side, 1 with another engineer that was more technical. And then I think I actually only did 3, but usually there's 4 of the interviews, because the 4th interview is with one of the VPs, like with someone higher up, with a VP or like a C, like with Taylor Otwell, so with like the CEO or someone.
Great. And now you have been working there, I think, for a couple of weeks, you said, so
1 week.
1 week.
Last Monday.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. So first of all, thank you so much for joining this live event, because I think you will be kind of busy with all the onboarding stuff. I don't know if you're done with your onboarding, probably not yet. I would, what I would expect, what I would like to watch or do, like this from my personal point of view. Like, I don't know, your experience, my first month at Laravel. Like, I think people really like that. And I think it is always a nice part to talk about, even for your future self. Like, I don't know, like how has it been, I don't know, your first 30 days at a job? I think they're always a bit crazy. I don't know, the first 2 weeks, I don't know, you can choose. Once you have, a moment to breathe, you can probably either do a live stream or do something to share your experience in the first part of your role. I think that would be a very interesting thing that I would like, for example, to know, because you probably some people, they maybe they are happy because they find a job, then they don't know what to do and how to do that. So absolutely perfect. Hey, the programming podcast, I don't know who is here, if it's Danny or whoever.
Or Leon. Probably Danny.
Leon. Hello. I met both of them. I don't know if we may take a picture with Leon, but yes, perfect. Yes. And we can also have a programming podcast as a guest on this podcast. This is a recursion in podcast. We'll call this the recursive episode. But yeah, why not? So yes, let me check here. Either way, create. Yes, happy one week. We can celebrate with a space. I don't know. We're always trying to find ideas to just as an excuse to make a space. It's me, Danny. Forgot to switch accounts. Yeah, or you can say that you are here to promote the podcast. No, I'm sorry. Just
It's marketing.
just go and check it out. Just go and check it out. The programming podcast. I think it's going very very well. Leah, I'm super happy to have you here. Would you like to share maybe, I don't know, something else? Probably I would like you to give maybe some tips, for example, for people who maybe they don't want to go to conferences, or maybe they're not sure if they can be useful, or for example, people, I don't know, maybe they are in that situation like you, where you like, should I apply or not to go as a speaker? So I'd like you to share more about this and see if this helped you in terms even of just career, not just having fun, but from a career perspective. Do you think this helped you? So this is a message for people who are listening that maybe, say, should I go to a conference or not?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, I feel like you a little bit where it's like going to conferences changed my life. I feel like if I wouldn't have went to Laracon last year, I wouldn't be where I'm at today with it. Cause like I don't think I would have like fully committed and immersed myself in the Laravel community, like fallen in love with it like I did and ended up here. Um, it also helped me like reignite my like passion for building in public and for like being public, because sometimes I would get burnt out on that and like not want to be perceived by the world, not like whenever I was just working as a software engineer, I would get burnt out doing that and creating content on the weekends. So it's like I didn't want to do that. Sometimes I just wanted to like hermit myself in my house, not post anything, not be public, and going there like reignited my love for doing those things, as well as like using Laravel itself did. So that really like helped pivot me, and now I'm here, part DevRel, part software engineer. I would say also something that helps is like building in public can like change your life a lot. So I would definitely recommend someone build in public and like post on Twitter, be on Twitch if you're okay live streaming. If you build a community there, it can be less scary to go to conferences, because like I met Jason, Richard, Roxy, everyone through Twitter, and then we all went to Commit Your Code last year, that conference, and it wasn't scary because I already felt like I knew most of those people. So that can make conferences less scary for you if you already like have this community of people who are going there. And then when you're at conferences, it's way easier to network with people because you're just making friends. You're all hanging out. You go to the after parties. It's way easier to make connections that can then help you in your career through doing that. So I would definitely say conferences are worth it for that. Like there's also technical talks and you might pick up some things you want to check out from them. But usually I would say like my main takeaway from conferences are that like they're great for networking and career opportunities.
I agree, and even if I am not a fan of the word networking, and I'm joking, I always
Sorry.
joke. That is a joke. It's an ongoing joke of this specific
I
word.
said it 20 times for you,
But
so I'm sorry.
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. But no. But yeah, and also it's very similar for me. Like it's not just for the technical thing, except say if there is a very specific talk on a very specific thing. But usually I go more, yes, to meet people. The peak is that when I meet someone who maybe I met online, and but this, I'm still old school, so I like to meet in person. I'm really looking for example, to meet you in person. No, it feels, it has that like a long relationship
Yeah.
feeling that like you finally see, you
It
understand.
solidifies the friendship more. Like you just feel
Yes,
closer to them after that.
exactly, and you understand how tall they are. For example, it is also a nice thing to know. For example, Jason is very tall, and so yes, it's nice. It's nice, and because it's a great way to understand that it's also something else. Outside of us, because sometimes, for example, on social media we do our own stuff. We have all our, our sphere, our niche. Put your niche like tips and stuff. But then we are in person, and I think I can't remember who said that. There is that. The great part of the conference is actually that you don't actually talk about coding and programming 24/7. You talk about your hobbies. I went for a run with Jason, for example. So there are some activities that are
I went
not
skiing
exactly.
last week. My first time skiing. I was like, let me start my new job, first time DevRel, speak at my first conference, and go skiing the first time all the same week. That was fun.
Great. Stop the drama, trauma. I'm told, Brad. Great.
Richard
Fun,
is tall
Jason.
too. And then Roxy and
Yes.
I are like down
I'm,
here.
I'm not as tall as I would like to have to be, but this is I think is a plus because otherwise I would have stayed in the volleyball world. So this is why I switched to tech because I'm too short for being a volleyball player. So that's good for you that I'm not that tall. So yes, but yes, thank you so much, Lee. I really enjoyed this. I will look forward for your next live stream. And yes, any final words? Are you used to do this live podcast or not?
The podcasts I've been on, I think, weren't live streamed. I've been on people's live streams, but I think this might be my first or second live podcast. But I guess final words, just if anyone has questions, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or anywhere. You can find me on Twitter, Twitter, Twitch, Blue Sky under Leah T Codes. And I think Francesco also has it
I think
linked, all the little links.
I put them all below, but I will double check. But yes, we have all the three you mentioned. Really looking forward to meet you in a couple of months. Damn, I have to get my talk ready as soon as possible. So I will, no worries. So yes, thank you so much, Leah. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your say your a bit of your story. For example, I didn't know about the math thing. So I have also one of the reasons why I invite people here is that I can know more about their personal stories, how they got into tech, and so really best of luck. And yes, so looking forward, and I think we'll have another live stream. I think the day on Saturday for sure. There will be, of course, some Rust stuff, but I'm also back in doing like live coding stuff and building things. What is even tall? I don't know. Perfect. Thank you so much, Leah, and I think we are done for today. And see you in the next episode, organizing new ones.
Good.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.